Hello and welcome. Today we continue talking about exposition, which is a wonderful technique to change your behavior for the better. In the previous video we talked about towards discomfort, and this is the technique that anybody can use. And today in particular I want to talk about exposition used for anxiety or for panic disorders or for phobias and so on. This is one of the main methods used to treat those. So pay attention if you have any similar issue, and we're gonna do it step by step. So what is exposition? It's technique, like procedure, where you expose yourself to something that causes anxiety for you, or that makes you feel afraid, or that makes you feel uncomfortable. And this way you are exercising your tolerance of discomfort, and slowly, little by little, step by step, your brain gets used to this uncomfortable situation and it becomes tolerable for you, and you stop being so anxious and you stop being so afraid. This actually is one of the main methods to treat anxiety. And however, many people, our instinct, our intuition is to do the opposite. For many people, like if we have anxiety, our instinct is to avoid what causes anxiety. If we have panic attacks, our instinct is to avoid situations in which panic attacks appear. However, the thing about anxiety or panic disorders is that the more you limit yourself, the more you try to protect yourself, the smaller and smaller trigger for a panic attack or anxiety becomes. So actually, it doesn't help you, it doesn't solve the problem, it just creates a lot of rituals, a lot of different practices that you use to make things tolerable for yourself, but in reality they just reinforce your idea that you cannot control it, that it has control over your life, and so on and so on. How it happens, like for example, I get panic attack when I am in a car, so I start avoiding all the cars, and then I have less panic attacks, for example. So this reinforces the idea that if I go into the car, I will have a panic attack. And for example, after that, I start avoiding public transport as well, because I'm afraid that it will also cause panic attacks, and so on and so on. And if I end up going into public transport or in a car, just remembering that it caused me anxiety some time ago, I might actually have an attack immediately, because it triggers this vicious circle in my mind that, oh my god, I'm losing control. And then my heart starts beating, and then I pay attention to how it's beating. It starts beating even faster. I start having the thoughts like, oh my god, what if I am having a heart attack? What if I'm gonna die? And because of it, I feel even worse. Now I feel dizzy. I start paying attention to how I feel dizzy, and now I'm thinking like, oh no, maybe I have a brain tumor or something. And this is how panic attacks or anxiety disorders work. They create those vicious circles that make it stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And exposition is very counterintuitive but working technique, when instead of following this vicious circle, we do the opposite. Instead of trying to protect ourselves, we go towards discomfort and we say like, yes, I am going towards it. I am not trying to run away, I'm going towards it, and I'm not avoiding it. Very effective technique. But how to do exposition correctly? First of all, you need to create a hierarchy of challenges for yourself. Like, for example, let's say you have social anxiety, and it's at its maximum if you're talking to somebody that you're in love with and whom you like very much. So in this situation, you have social anxiety 10 out of 10. So you are trying to create the hierarchy and give points to different tasks depending on your level of anxiety caused by them. Like, for example, going on a date with somebody you like, 10 out of 10. Just asking them to go on a date is 9 out of 10. Just being near them is 8 out of 10. Then being, let's say you have insecurities talking to the opposite sex. So, for example, being around men or women or somebody else causes you to feel anxiety, 8 out of 10. Then let's say that 7 out of 10 is going to a certain party. Then 6 out of 10 is maybe wearing a pretty dress that you feel like uncomfortable a bit in, like you attract too much attention. Then 6 out of 10 can be going to some party or event alone, and then 5 out of 10 would be going there with a friend, and then let's say 4 out of 10 would be going would be talking to somebody new by using video connection, you know, instead of real life. And let's say 3 out of 10 would be just writing to them and texting to them. So you see, you create a whole, it looks like stairs. Wait, I show you the image. Stairs like this, see? So you just put every step of the way what it looks like. I used example from 0 to 10, measuring your anxiety. You can use it from 0 to 100, you can use it from 0 to 5, and so on and so on. You can choose what you want. And the principle is that you measure your anxiety, and then you decide on which step you are right now. And then slowly, little by little, you increase the difficulty. So, for example, right now you are at level 3 out of 10. So you can easily tolerate 3 out of 10. You can text to somebody online. Your next step would be talking to somebody using audio messages, for example. This is already a bit uncomfortable and it makes you a bit anxious, but it's not as scary as talking to people in real life. And then when you get used to that, you do it several times, and when you get used to that, you can go and increase the difficulty and talk to somebody using video message as well. And then you increase the difficulty and you go to some event with a friend and try to go out. So step by step, very, very small steps here. And I'm very sorry to tell you, but there is no shortcut in this. In order to feel comfortable and confident talking to opposite sex, let's say, you have to practice it. You have to do it again and again and again, and then you become comfortable. In order to become comfortable talking to clients or customers, you have to do it again and again and again, and then you become comfortable. In order to be confident and comfortable in your body, you have to do it again and again and again, and then feel comfortable. So there is no shortcut in here. There is no magic pill that makes you feel calm and not anxious. The thing is not to search for some magic pill, but instead you should accept that yes, you will be anxious, you will be scared, you will be uncomfortable, and that's okay. And that's okay. It doesn't kill you. It cannot destroy you. Yes, anxiety is very uncomfortable. Yes, it's not very pleasant, but it's tolerable. And once you do that, you will notice that actually most emotions, they are not, how to say, they are tolerable. They are like hunger or thirst or having a headache or feeling a little bit sick, things like that. They are not scary. They cannot harm you, they cannot hurt you, they cannot kill you. So no reason to be scared of emotions. Yeah, so what I was saying, no shortcut in here, only going towards discomfort works. What can we understand using this technique? First of all, is that our anxiety, our fears are not limitless and they don't last forever. Instead, if you go towards your anxiety and actually try doing things that make you feel anxious, you will notice that yes, anxiety will last like maybe for a day or two, but then it will go away. Because anxiety, just like any other emotions, they are very fluid. They are like waves in the ocean. They come and go, come and go. And there is nothing so scary about anxiety. You can just learn to tolerate it. It's fine. Then another thing, when you practice it often enough, exposition can lower your general anxiety level and make you be much more stress resilient as a person, because your brain gets used to facing fears, anxiety, discomfort, and then you start feeling strong and you start feeling like you can take it. You can compare it to somebody training martial arts or something like that. They get a little bit beaten with some rocks or marble back or something like that, and this helps their bones and their tissues become stronger so that they can take hits. But if you never train that, it's difficult to take hits. So regular practice of exposition makes you develop this inner resilience. And at first it's really, really difficult, but then the more you practice, the easier it is. And then also you can start developing this inner resilience in one sphere, but then it kind of transfers to other spheres of your life. Like, for example, if you overcame your social anxiety and develop this resilience towards anxiety, then you will be able to tolerate discomfort doing sports or trying new creative projects or something like that. So it kind of spreads all over your life after that. So it's worth investing your time. Then also, what it helps with, it's that it stops you from trying to find magic pills, like trying to find solutions that are going to make things easy. You know, many of us, we are trying to find that, oh, workout regime that will make you exercise for 2 weeks and look amazing for the rest of your life, or some special diet that will do the same, or some ritual or habit or new system of something that will make everything perfect. And we just lose a lot of time there, and we just don't progress anywhere. Oftentimes we lose a lot of money as well, but instead, using exposition, we actually achieve the result. We don't waste our time doing useless things. Instead, we accept that anxiety is normal part of any new activity. Being scared, being anxious is fine, and you can learn to tolerate it. You can learn to take those hits, and then it's fine. What else? This exercise also helps you to understand that most often you are exaggerating, horrible consequences that you might be imagining about some events. Like, for example, you imagine yourself going on a date with someone, and you imagine it as something you cannot withstand, as something so anxious, so horrible, and so on. But when using this exposition and imagining it even in your imagination, you can actually feel that it's not as scary as it seems. The main principle remains the same. The more we try to avoid something, the scarier it seems. And the more we are willing to go towards the discomfort, the easier it seems. So stop avoiding it. Yeah. What is also a wonderful consequence of exposition is that it influences the way you see life as well. You start understanding that life will never be perfect, it will never be completely comfortable or not scary. You understand that there are many things that are unstable in life, that are uncertain, that are ambivalent, that are not easy, and you learn to accept it. So you understand that there is no other way to live but like that, and you accept it, and this helps you to live in reality instead of trying to find some kind of instead of daydreaming and all that. And just like we discussed with exercise, before you start exercising, you might think like, oh, it's so scary, so horrible, why people do it? But actually, when you do it regularly, you start getting the reward, you start getting why it's so cool. And same with living in uncertainty or in stress. If you get used to it, if you become resilient to it, it can actually not only not harm you, but actually make you stronger, and also can make your life much more fun and happier and all that. Like, for example, when you get used to running every day, running becomes fun. When you get used to uncertainty, adventures, facing your fears and anxiety, all that becomes fun as well, and this can really make your life really cool. And because you are able to withstand uncertainty and stress and act in conditions of uncertainty and stress, it makes you really, really good as a partner, as a parent, as a teacher, as a worker, as a entrepreneur, and so on and so on, because this is one of the main feature of our reality. It's uncertain, and there is always some kind of stress, and actually good stress is necessary for us. So training your exposition technique, you train yourself to react well to stress. So you kind of become like this hydra, or how was it called, you know, the mythical animal where you cut one head and the animal has two heads instead. Then you cut these two heads and it has four heads instead. So something like that. Stress becomes you stronger, it's motivating for you, and it's making you happier, weirdly. So exposition is really wonderful here. Yeah. So let's revise how you're going to do our, oh, I'm sorry, it's a bit, yeah, how you're going to do our exposition exercise. First of all, you create the like ladder, like steps, and you decide, like, let's say, what is 10 out of 10 in terms of anxiety, what makes you most anxious, where you are right now. For example, right now you are 2 out of 10, and what each step would represent. And then you start doing exposition, which is doing what you are scared of at this level, slowly, very slowly increasing level of discomfort. So for example, if you're afraid, if you have social anxiety, you're afraid to talk to people, your first step would be just saying hello to supermarket worker or something like that, and then you slowly increase it to more difficult tasks. You know when you need to increase it, because you should have like anxiety diary or something like that, or discomfort diary, and should mark it. Like, for example, first time you try it, you feel anxious 10 out of 10. Second time you try it, you feel anxious 8 out of 10. Next time you try it, you feel anxious only 4 out of 10, and so on. And when you see that your anxiety level gets lower and lower, then you can start doing something new and increasing the difficulty. Yeah, so you do this, and according to plan, depending on how fast your anxiety level changes, you can get higher and higher on these stairs. And yeah, it's really nice to visualize it with stairs, like you getting upwards. Yeah, and you can monitor your anxiety from 0 to 10 and have some kind of app or diary to note it down. And then also you can combine it and describe and reflect on what was your expectation about doing something that makes you feel uncomfortable, and what was the reality. Because oftentimes we might think that something is very, very scary, but when we actually do it, we feel great. We feel like, yeah, I've done it. I made it. And actually, this is one of the happiness keys. Happiness is not when you live painless life or when you live a very comfortable life. No, happiness is when you have something for which you're willing to tolerate discomfort, and when you see that you are kind of going towards the discomfort and pain, and winning there. So this is why people love it. Yeah, and then you can reflect about results of exposition and write down your conclusion, like what you learned about yourself using these, and so on and so on. Yeah. So exposition can be used for easy things, small things. It can also be used for big life goals or existential crisis or fear of death. It can be used for many different decisions and so on. If you have smaller, how to say, smaller things that cause anxiety, you can use exposition. Like, for example, if you have social anxiety and just talking to someone causes it, you can use this exposition method. It's also very useful for obsessive compulsive disorder, like when you have different kinds of rituals that you do, otherwise you feel anxious. Can also use this anxiety thing. It can also be used if you are scared for your health, overly scared, anxious, and so on. So yeah, I hope it was useful as a video, and I remind you that you can do it in your imagination as well. Yes, I think I managed to say everything. Essential things here is that, first of all, you progress very slowly, you increase the difficulty very slowly. You don't start with huge difficulty. Like, for example, if you have social anxiety, you don't start with something 10 out of 10. You start with something small, like 2 out of 10, imagining, just maybe imagining talking to someone, not actually talking to someone. And then slowly, little by little, you increase the difficulty. It's also nice to have somebody doing expositions with you. So it's nice to participate in groups or just get united with your friends and have this kind of challenge, like they are doing their own exposition, you are doing your own exposition, and it's really helpful. Yes, and this technique can be used basically in everything, in any sphere of your life, in any life circumstances, and really wonderful technique. I cannot even describe all possible usages for that. Also, I want you to remember that if you have anxiety or obsessive compulsive disorder or something like that, you might have a set of different rituals or techniques aimed at calming you down. And however, these techniques can be useful. However, they shouldn't become like protective mechanisms, and they shouldn't reinforce anxiety. Like, for example, if you learn special breathing technique, it shouldn't become your coping mechanism to cope with anxiety, and then think that, oh, I cannot cope with anxiety if I don't do this breathing exercise. So exposition can also be done when you just kind of going in these sensations of, let's say, anxiety attack, and just being with them, not using any kind of technique to calm yourself down, learning to just be with anxiety without running away from it, without making yourself calm down, without trying to cope with it in any way. And you just learn to tolerate the symptoms, and that's fine. And anxiety symptoms or panic attack symptoms or fear and so on, they are uncomfortable, but they are tolerable. After all, they are just feelings. Feelings cannot control you. Feelings cannot kill you. Feelings cannot harm you. Feelings are just feelings. You can just feel them and then they will go away. You don't have to do any techniques to make them smaller. Yeah. So let me know in the comments what your stairs would be like, what your hierarchy of difficulty, difficult tasks would be like, and what you're going to use this technique for. It will be very interesting for me to find out, because as I said, the examples are infinite really. Exposition is one of the main techniques used in therapy. and I will see you soon. We will continue talking about behavioral change. Bye bye.